How do we legally avoid paying taxes? This is a hot topic. This is being that I'm not an attorney, I can't give legal advice, and I am not a tax preparer. It's difficult when people ask me questions about taxes because I'm not trying to get people in trouble. Number one, and I'm not looking to get myself in trouble. But how to legally avoid taxes? There's a way to speak about it without liability. I'm going to do that today. This is the foundation episode, How to Legally Avoid Taxes. My name is Sot L, Seeker of Truth L, Speaker of Truth L. And it is my pleasure to be here with you for another episode of The Foundation. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for current events. We got some dances going on with these current events, y'all. I mean, it's crazy. It's getting wild hundreds. So let's jump into this. Make sure you check out welcome to thefoundation.com. Sign up for the email list at the very least. We are working out the kinks from our new email provider. We had to deal with some corporate drama, let's just be honest. And that's all I'll say. And there's no non-disclosure. Just, there's nothing else to say. But, email list is banging right now. I actually get notifications every time someone signs up. Well, the organization does. So it's working. Sign up for the email list. We're just working out the kinks on how we got to send them out. But we're in there. We're in there like swimwear, like gym hair. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep it moving. Welcome to thefoundation.com. Make sure you check out in the link in the description. We have the most comprehensive trustee training available, period. If you're looking to administer your own private estate, I know most people, they want someone to do it for them. I'm gonna let you know that a lot of times that ends in heartbreak, headache, resentment, irritation. Trustees have broad powers. And in order to ensure that it stays within your family and it grows your family wealth, you got to learn how to do it. And on top of that, how do you teach your heirs how to take over the family estate? Most people want trust. We don't do that here. There's educational materials that come along with the training. I'm doing air quotes. You can't see it, but I can. And I'm telling you, there's air quotes. Read between the lines. There's context. You understand what I'm saying? But we do not sell trust. We offer educational training. Link in the description, as I said, very, very affordable. Learn at your own pace. Take your time. We work with you. If you've ever wanted to learn the real deal with regards to trust administration, private trust administration, more specifically, private fiduciaries on a public fiduciary, I suggest that you jump into this training as soon as you can. We also have the Foundation How to Start a Business course, very much in conjunction with your private estate. Most families have a private estate, but they also have, wealthy families. They have a private estate, but they also have a family business. Very, very important. I mean, you can't pass a job down to your child, but you can pass down a family to your heirs. If you never thought that you could do it, if you thought it was too much, this is the course for you. I was thinking about the people that, are easily discouraged. We weren't taught this stuff. It's very hard. We look at businesses and they're very large and they're multinational. And, how do we start and how to begin to get there? That's what this course is for. It's for you. 100%. I'm not playing with you. And last but not least, we have the Foundation magazine. We have a print edition. We have a digital subscription edition. I mean, it comes to you mailed, USPS, mail. Smells like a magazine, feels like a magazine. A lot of information in there that we do not put on the show. And I suggest that you if you're inclined, if you're interested, check out that magazine. So, how to legally avoid paying taxes. Now, I want a caveat, and if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend that you check out the most recent show I think I did. It was what is an individual? Bottom line is, right? This boils down to governance. And a lot of us aren't really familiar with this, and it goes over a lot of people's heads. I understand that. I'll just try to break it down in what is known as layman's terms. So, the every way. Everyday Joe and Jane can understand what's going on. So, to get started, to really look at what's happening when people are looking to avoid taxes, we have to look at the evasion of taxes first and foremost, right? And before we do that, I just want to say something really, really quick. When it comes to evasion versus avoidance, it's all about how you operate. And a lot of people operate and deal with tax evasion for two main reasons. The main reason is they're using public structures. Like I said, check out that episode, What is an Individual? But public structures are being utilized. And the governance of public structures are the state statutes. I'm talking the individual. I'm talking LLCs, corporations, partnerships, anything, even trusts, living trusts, grantor trusts, simple trusts. These different types of trusts that within their documentation, and it's the same for LLCs, it's the same for corporations, these structures are governed by state law. It says it in the contracts. It says it in the documentation. This is the first thing that I want you to pay attention to. Because the reason evasion is so prevalent is because due to state law and then also federal law when it comes to specific state governed structures, LLCs, individuals, corporations, what have you, there is a ceiling, a limit to deductions that are allowed. I would say that's number one. And then evasion, a lot of times there's people who are padding expenses. They're saying that this was this much, but it really wasn't. And they're trying to just reduce the income that can be claimed against them individually, because the individual itself has some very, very, very terrible tax benefits. Now, we're going to get into it with regards to how to avoid, taxes legally, of course. But I do want to point out before we get into this at all, this is next to impossible if you're if you operate through the individual. Let me be specific, and you are employed. Only individuals can be employees, and an employee-employer situation, or more specifically, income coming to the individual by way of some sort of exchange of labor into, the quote commercial marketplace, whether it's through a corporation or not. I don't know how else I can explain this. But the individual is the most tax burden structure. It has the least ability to do things. And I see a lot of evasion because people don't understand that there are other structures to be used. So with that being said, let's move forward. And the first source that I'm going to go to, and if you know me for over the years, you know that I don't play around. I don't use hypotheses. I don't hypothesize. I don't philosophize. I deal with straight facts and sources, official sources. So the first one we're going to deal with is going to be the Internal Revenue Service. Right here, this is specifically, it's a worksheet that I got from irs.gov. It's the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. This is written by the Internal Revenue Service. And then key terms, let's just deal with this real quick. Let's get this out the way. Tax avoidance, an action taken to lessen tax liability and maximize after-tax income. Doesn't sound illegal. Tax evasion, the failure to pay or a deliberate underpayment of taxes. That sounds illegal. There's an underground economy that they want to talk about, but ultimately, the U.S. income tax system is based on the idea of voluntary compliance. And I'm not going to get into any debate or hypotheses or my personal opinion based on facts and research, the full implications of what this actual sentence means right here. That's not for this show. But it does point out that tax evasion is illegal. One way people try to evade paying taxes is by failing to report all or some of their income. Sometimes people do not report income gained through illegal activities such as gambling and selling stolen goods. Other times they do not report all the tips they collect or the money they earn through legal activities such as garage sales, babysitting, tutoring, or yard work. Such money-making activities are part of the underground economy, which exists as a way to avoid paying taxes. If taxpayers, you gotta understand what a taxpayer is. A taxpayer is an individual An individual is a taxpayer. Are you an individual? That's the question. If taxpayers fail to pay what officials say they owe, the IRS can assess a penalty in addition to collecting the back taxes. And they got penalties and they got interest and fees and they can do a dance. In contrast, tax avoidance is perfectly legal. IRS regulations allow eligible taxpayers to claim certain deductions, credits, and adjustments to income. For instance, some homeowners can claim a deduction for interest they pay on home mortgage. And that even passes down in a lot of states to renters. It's called a renter's rebate. And the renters get a portion of the rebate. That I don't know how they do the numbers exactly, but it is assumed that the property owner takes the rent and uses it to pay the mortgage. And part of that rent also goes to pay down the interest of that mortgage. So renters in most states, they get a credit for the interest that they paid vicariously on that mortgage by paying their rent. So, you got that. Working parents may be able to claim a credit for child care expenses. There are also deductions based on the number of family members. There are only a few of the many ways people can legally limit the tax they pay. I'm sorry, these are only a few of the many ways. And they tell you there's many ways. And they say people, not taxpayers, not persons, not individuals. They say people. And I know I'm a stickler, but I know for a fact that words and language is very specific, especially when you're dealing with law. Period. Yep. So, yeah, they say people. However, the taxpayer must be able to prove that he or she qualifies. Many people pay more federal income tax than necessary because they misunderstand tax laws and fail to keep good records. And that's where you get a return. I'm gonna let you know. So let's jump down here. They got some different activities, so on and so forth. And you can check this out. You can just do a search. But tax avoidance in this activity, I want to point this out. Last year, Dave and Marie paid more taxes than they owed after they filed their tax return. They received a refund for overpayment of taxes. This year, Dave and Marie claimed a deduction for interest paid on their home mortgage and claimed a credit for child care expenses in order to avoid overpayment of taxes. Is this an instance of tax evasion or tax avoidance? Explain why. This is tax avoidance. They are not trying to pay less than they owe. They are trying to avoid overpayment by keeping more detailed records. So, they go through some things, but we have to be very clear with regards to, what tax evasion is and what tax avoidance is. And ultimately, tax avoidance is arranging the affairs in a manner that results in, through the operation, there is little or no tax owed. And evasion is there's a tax owed and you either don't pay it, you don't report the income so it's assessed, or you try to pad expenses and say that, this cost more and, this is a bigger expense and so on and so forth. So let's stick with that. Let me move to this. I got this from Bankrate, how to make $100,000 or more and pay no income taxes. And, this is a lot of the public information that they put out with regards to, how to, avoid taxes in your current, I would say, business situation. And most people are like, well, I don't own a business. I have an employment. Well, that's business. That's a type of business contract. Employment contract is a business contract. So they have, they get down here, I think it is 5 ways to get tax-free income, take a full advantage of 401k, move to a tax-free state. There's some states that don't have personal income taxes. There's some states that don't have corporate income taxes. Contribute to a health savings account, which I think is a great idea. Itemize your deductions and use tax loss harvesting. So, these are the typical things that you'll see. We got this. This is from Golden Visa. So this is going to be some more international type dance. And they talk about what the taxes, federal income taxes, and they say the same thing. Health savings account. And they start talking about self-employment tax deduction for business expenses, contribute to your retirement plan, HSAs, and so on and so forth. And then I had another one. There's one more. This is Global Citizen Solutions. This is more like a firm, it seems like. And they're talking about pretty much the same thing. Self-employment tax reduction, business expenses, contribute to a retirement plan, HSA, you can donate to charity, you can claim a tax credit. And this is very limiting for most people. And, it's frustrating. I understand that. And, this right here, this business expenses is why I am so heavy with regards to, everyone needs to start a business. It doesn't matter the scale, doesn't matter how much profit it makes. Just having it businesses, there's write-offs that businesses are afforded that individuals are not. And, being able to operate a business or an LLC and keep it separate and can't commingle it with your personal income or your personal money, personal accounts, and don't self-deal with regards to the business. Don't buy things for your personal self that can't be expensed according to, publication 535, business expenses on the 1120 of a business return. As long as you don't do that, it's a good start in how to know how to operate a private trust. But let's talk about a private trust, right? What is this? Oh, this is the jurisdiction SITUS governing laws of trust in the states, Untangling the Knot. Now, this is a document. I'll put it in the description. If y'all want it, I'll put a link in the description. This is not me. This guy's out of Washington, and he's talking about governing law, right? And I don't think it's this one. I think it's down further a little bit. There it is. Governing law of trust, right? A discussion of jurisdiction naturally leads to the question which law applies. In Oregon, this question is answered in part by ORS. So that'd be probably Oregon Statutes 130.030, which is based on Uniform Trust Code, Section 107. Pay attention. The meaning and effect of the terms of trust are determined by the law of the state, country, or other jurisdiction designated in the terms of the trust. I'm going to say it again. The meaning and effect of the terms of trust are determined by the law of the state, country, or other jurisdiction designated in the terms of the trust. Unless the designation of the law of the state, country, or other jurisdiction is contrary to a strong public policy of the state, country, or other jurisdiction. And this would be commingling, self-dealing, strong public policy. If it's an alter ego, it's not a complete and separate entity. So laws of the state, remember I told you, LLCs, public trust, living trusts, grantor trusts, partnerships, corporations, they're all governed by the state law. But this says law of the state, the country, or other. What is that other jurisdiction? What is that other jurisdiction? And what does that have to do with legally voided taxes? Okay. So let's jump into this. This is a little document I have. This document, I do believe, is in the trust primer. So you can go to welcometothefoundation.com, go to the education section, and you can grab that trust primer. It's $25. It's not even that much. But, this is one of the documents in there. And in here, let's get with this one, right? And this is Weeks versus Sibley. Boom, boom, boom. Blah, blah. Right here. Boom, boom. Weeks versus Sibley. I don't know why. There we go. This one. You see what I'm saying? The court. This is Supreme Court. A peer trust is not illegally formed for the express purpose of avoiding taxes. A peer trust is established by contract in any law or procedure in its operation. Denying or obstructing contract rights impairs contract obligation, is therefore violative of the United States Constitution. You understand what I'm saying? Let me go back to that one. It was this one, right? The law of the state, country, or other jurisdiction designated in the terms of the trust. So what law is that? A trust organization, citation number 4, a trust organization consisting of a U.S. constitutional right of contract. Maybe that's the law. Cannot be abridged. The agreement, when executed, becomes a constitutionally protected organization and not under the laws passed by any of the several legislatures. Remember when I said that all of these public structures are governed by public law? What law do you think this type of trust, a constitutionally protected organization, falls under? Let's go to the next one. This is Elliott versus Freeman. I'm sorry, that was Crocker versus McClure. I could be crazy. I could have wrote all this down in a fever dream. Do your own research. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I don't give legal advice. Nothing I say can be construed as legal advice. If you do, I will play every one of my episodes and say that I could be crazy. Like anyone who says that they could be crazy and admits to that and says that they're not an attorney or a lawyer and do your own research. You understand what I'm getting at? Elliott versus Freeman. A peer trust is not subject to legislative control. Statutory legislation. Legislative powers. Legislative courts. Ooh, what's a legislative court? The United States Supreme Court holds that trust relationship comes under the realm of equity based upon common law and is not subject to legislative restrictions as are corporations and other organizations by legislative authority. I don't care what you say, an individual exists under legislative authority. A corporation exists under legislative authority. A living trust, a grantor trust exists under legislative authority. An LLC, an LLP, anything within its governing instrument or governing documents that invokes state statutory legislative law is in contrary and distinctively different than what I'm talking about right here. This is how you avoid legal tax. So if the state law says that these are taxes and the contract of this trust that's as constitutionally protected says that there's no taxes, and I'm being very general right now. And the Supreme Court says that a trust organization consisting of a U.S. constitutional right of contract cannot be abridged. Let's keep it moving. Look. Harwood versus Tracy, the creator of a trust may mold it and give it any shape he chooses, and he or the trustees upon such term as they may choose to impose. Any action or law trying to be imposed upon these types of trusts with regards to taxation, administration, or anything is violative of the Constitution. Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution states, in part, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contracts. It really says, in part, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligations of contracts. That's what it says specifically, in part. Where we go. We find it intolerable that one constitutional right should be surrendered in order to assert another. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be abridged. And they'd be like, so why are you talking about that? Well, we all have the common law right to contract unlimited. Look it up. Where fundamental rights under the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation which can abrogate them. It gets deeper. This is like 100. There's a lot of citations in here speaking towards the validity of trust. There's a lot. And, I suggest you check it out. But bottom line, what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying. So I don't forget, let me do this. What I'm saying is that what we don't understand is what we don't know. What we don't know is that there are other structures that are recognized to open bank accounts, to open brokerage accounts, to title cars, to title vehicles, to title homes, to title personal property that is not created by the state and is therefore not governed by the state. And the contract itself says what expenses are. And the IRS can't say that that was an expense because the IRS cannot violate contract law. There's a lot of nuances with regards to administering and protecting these entities. But this is absolutely real. This is nothing new. This has been going on for a long time. Trust exists. I found evidence of trust existence since 1500. Way before there was a corporation or an LLC. Trust existed before the United States existed. And I'm going to tell you something else. If you check out the United States Constitution with the critical eye, you will realize that that is a trust indenture. And it has amendments. And it has trustees, which is Congress. And it has the beneficiaries, which is the American people. And it has grantors, which are all the signers. Trust law is old. It's very, very powerful. And it is being used every single day just under your nose. And the power with regards to the administration, the taxation, the expenses, all of these things lie in the contract itself. They are not governed by state statutory law. Outside of these few things, the health savings account, the child tax credit and stuff, they're talking about an individual. You operate through trust. You bypass that individual and all of the detriments that come along with exchanging your energy in the public marketplace through that individual entity. So how do you legally avoid taxes? I agree with, these authors, these different articles and whatnot. But I will tell you this. How you legally avoid taxes is you do business. You do business privately. You do business publicly. And you do family business from the standpoint of a private structure that is not created by any statutory legislative authority. The governance is within the document itself. There's no outside governance, and the contract makes the law, and it's a federally protected entity. That's how to legally avoid taxes, but it requires understanding how to administer these private structures, how to not commingle, not self-deal, not make them appear to be alter egos, how to substantiate claims, how to stand on claims, how to respond to the Internal Revenue Service when they send a letter saying we haven't received your tax return, and it's addressed to the private trust. If it were up to me, everyone in America who has the mentality and the mental acuity to administer private trust would. It would be like the law. But the public will never teach against itself. And if you understand what I mean and how that applies when I say that, you will understand that there's a reason why we don't know about this. But just because we don't know something exists doesn't mean it does not. And just because the people you trust and think are the smartest people in the world don't know something doesn't exist doesn't mean it does not. And that's what I'm talking about. How to legally avoid paying taxes. You got to utilize structures that they don't control. You got to understand what that is. You got to understand jurisdiction. You got to understand what the several legislatures are. Those are all legislative courts. It's all states. Article 1, legislative tribunal courts. And you got to understand how to properly stand on this constitutionally protected structure. Hey, that's what I got. I trust that y'all learned something. If you did learn something, let me know. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. You can email me, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. I trust that you will check out welcometothefoundation.com. You sign up for the email list. If you've been on the fence for getting into the trustee training, quit it. Get off the fence on your own accord. Don't let the wind blow you off or you slip or something, because you can't really determine how you land. How about that? Things happen. Things are happening geopolitically. You can check out the current events for tomorrow. I'm about to go in. But this is for y'all. I do this for y'all. My name is Sot L, Seeker of Truth L, Speaker of Truth L. And whoops, it went blank. I couldn't see anything. And it's been my absolute pleasure to be with you on this episode of The Foundation. I trust y'all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. It's very important. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow on current events. Peace, y'all.